after I've spoken, we'll probably ask some of you who's got anything to say, even if it, how you remember Ludwig, um, anything to contribute to this afternoon. There's this Latin saying, and I've mentioned it there, which says one should always say something good about the people that's passed away. And it applies also to the more humble of us. Ludwig was more on the service side, being a driver and handyman. Are you going to take my photograph, Paul? Yeah, he's such a, yeah. But how he was also very special, and we've known him for over 20 years. I've known him longer since Hillbrow, obviously, from somewhere in the 1980s. So when I realized I'll have to do all the talking or most of the talking today, I spoke, I phoned Frida, the mother of his children, a former wife, with some questions, and she left me with about four dates, certain years. Maybe that can add to some of the Beatles, as well as Elvis Presley was crying in the chapel, and the Righteous Brothers had a song called You've Lost That Loving Feeling. And in Austria, at that stage, it was all about the sound of music euphoria. None of you, very few of you were born at that stage already, 65 now. The Sound of Music was probably the most popular song at that, a movie at that stage. And so Austria was overrun by tourists, and everybody wanted to come see where the movie was shot, and it's close to where your father lived and whatever. He couldn't take it, and he left, came to South Africa, late 65, and he never left again. He came into the construction industry, and your mother, Frida, said that after they got married, she tried to convince him that they go back for a holiday, and he wasn't interested. And Anton, Alex, you told me you and Anton, what, 20 years ago, actually bought tickets without his permission for you, Anton, and Ludwig to go all the way back to Austria. And he said, sorry. Amazing, amazing story. So that was 1965. In 1968, late 1968, your mother Frida was a nurse, and her one friend, also a nurse, was having a date with some German, and they had to go to the castle in Hillbrow, and they were looking for somebody else for a friend, which was your father, and your mother was the friend of the date. So she said, so there they were sitting in the castle inn, and apparently there was a group of English people singing Scottish songs like "My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean," and the Germans were, answer to that was to sing some heavy German beer drinking songs. And your mother says that when introduced, they just gave each other a look or two. And she says it was instant chemistry. And your father actually made some remark about her being his bride and whatever. And she didn't put him in his place or whatsoever. They were like Siamese twins, connected by the hip afterwards. And so that's late 1968. And then early in the next year, 1969, who remembers what happened in 1969, other than Ludwig getting married? What was the two big things that happened in 69? the moon landing, and Woodstock. So great year to get married, isn't it? Um, and they married, I think, March or something like that. And Anton was born in December of that year. Your mother said he was a very good um, looking after and supply and being able to look after his family, but also his lifestyle running the beer keller in Hillbrow, as well as his little hardware shop that he ran. And he had a certain lifestyle that became a problem. She said she actually still today she loves him. And in any case, so they got divorced about 73 or so. So that was the year 69, and they divorced around about 73. The next year that comes up is during the Arab Spring, uh, 2011, around about April. And um, Anton was part of a group of 4 international photojournalists who went to Libya, and there was this news that came through that all 4 were held captive by the Gaddafi regime, and their spokesman said that they hope to release them fairly quickly. So everybody was living in the hope that Anton here in South Africa and his loved ones, that he would be released fairly early. And he would come back to such a claim and relief, etc. Then 44 days later, when they were eventually released, there was no Anton. And um, then the other 3 confessed that they were in the beginning, when they spoke to the president, said that they were arrested by the Gaddafi regime. They didn't mention anything about Anton. And yeah, so that terrible news broke. Was downstairs in our storeroom when the news broke, and Ludwig came to me, and he was shattered. And very difficult for a man to console. After that, he was everybody that knew him before that and afterwards would said that he was never the same person again. That his way to handle it was to stay busy and hopefully ignoring what happened. In any case, a few weeks ago, when Ludwig was in hospital, I went in, and I was lucky to have him on a very lucid day. And I think he followed what I was saying, and he reacted to what I was saying. He even thanked me for the years that he was at our place. And they offered me a chair, but I preferred to stand right next to the bed. It was a bit like being at a train station and thinking that somebody's going to do their final journey or whatever. And so I said to Ludwig, that Alex is anticipated the next day. And I said to him, Ludwig, to a degree, I envy you for going where you're going and the reception that you will have, because I'm one of those people that believe that this is just a dream. On the other side is the real reality. We'll only realize it when we get there. You came the next day. After you left, Vanessa went that night for a few hours. And in any case, I think this kind of wraps up that I want to say. We're going to ask some of you just to say in a few words what you recall about Ludwig. It doesn't have to be anything profound or whatever. Maybe I'll start off with something that one of our clients sent me. Just give me a minute. Winberg said, "To all at Kameraz, please accept my deepest condolences with the passing of Ludwig. He was the Father Christmas of Kameraz." I like that. For approximately 15 years, he was the bearer of new cameras and accessories to my studio. Arriving with a beaming smile, he would lighten the mood of the day and we would catch up on the weather, politics, and affairs of the day. He was an institution at Kameraz and will be sorely missed. Winberg. After we have a bit of a chat, proceedings will be ended. Penny would like to say a few words at the end and also end off with a prayer. So let's be respectful to that. And the first victim who's going to speak into my microphone is going to be you, Paul Cott. No. Let's try somebody else. If I speak, Tom finds it difficult to sit there. Will you guys be able to capture him? I'm just going to walk. Tom, are you ready? Have you done your push-ups? Okay, here I come. Watch out. Remain seated. No. Okay. Tom.
Hello, everybody. I'm one of the many, many people who were touched by Ludwig during his 2 decades as a fixture at Kameraz. And I used to call him the man with the magic hands because he could fix anything. I would stagger in holding a cross-threaded filter mount, a lens that had started rattling badly, or an adapter which was welded forever. And he'd look at me and he'd take it and he'd go through into the back shop. He'd be back 10 minutes later and he'd hand over the thing mended, fixed, in working order. And I used to say to him, wow, Ludwig, I used to say, you are a star. And he would look at me from under his eyebrows and say, well, he didn't say anything, but it looked as if he was saying, yeah, I know. In fact, he was a genius at that. And well, I tried on Ludwig. So I took it into Ludwig. He disappeared with his magic hands. He was back in 10 minutes, tight as a drum.
Renee, have you got a word or a sentence to?
Hi. I met Ludwig, I think, 2005 when Photozeta first opened. And I was the gallerist and curated the first show. And then I met Ludwig because he had to hang the whole show. We opened with her. So Hannelie, the screen dividers. So Hannelie's first exhibition was the smallest print was 1 meter high by 1.5 meter wide, actual hand printed photographs, 10 of those, heavy framed. And Ludwig referred to them as the room dividers, not the photographs. So I met Ludwig and we had to start hanging the show, drill into walls, and we had to get the gallery ready. And he would chain smoke in a very closed space with me. Like he would just smoke with all these glasses, like 2 sets of glasses around his neck, and that fleece like little pullover that he had on, and he would just like smoke, smoke, smoke. And me, like, went, Ludwig, you can't smoke in here. And he was like, yeah, yeah. And then he didn't stop. So I went to Johan and I said, Johan, it's a small space. Me and Ludwig, we are, confined, and he's smoking me out of there. And Johan just said, Ludwig with cigarettes is the one we want. Ludwig without cigarettes is not the guy we want. So Ludwig continued smoking, and I think we worked together, well, on many occasions, and he just kept on smoking. But I remember with Raymond Preston's show, we had 100 and it's over 100 images we had to hang, and it was running late, and the photographer, the artist was being drama queen, so we only got the 120 or 30 odd prints in late in the afternoon. And Ludwig was smoking, smoking, measuring, putting up. And then eventually I said, I'm going home. Next morning, got there, perfectly exhibited, like water level, every print to perfection. He just continued right through the night. Anyway, cheers, Ludwig.
Fantastic story. Thanks for the name. Yeah. Ah, right. Paul Cott.
Hello, everyone. 20 years, maybe more. I met Ludwig, I don't even know in which circumstances, but in the early days, I was in Johan's shop all the time. Someday, somebody gave me a lens. They say, Paul, you're collecting all sorts of rubbish. That's something which I have a lens 2.8, 200, 2.8. But the back element is scratched. We can't use it, but you collect rubbish, then you can have it. I said, what present is this? But anyway, I took it and I went to Ludwig. And Ludwig said, oh, when you going to Europe again? And I said, well, in a month's time. He said, this is the address. Go in Berlin. This is the shop. They might help you because we don't repair stuff like this here in South Africa. Well, I landed in Germany. I went to the shop. They were so helpful. They pick up the phone. They phoned Japan. There was a in front of me. And they saying, this is the problem. We have this old lens, but it's a perfect lens. We just need the back element. Okay, please courier to us, and we will be, in 10 days' time, the things will be courier back to the shop. I went to Poland. From Poland, I came back to Berlin. I picked up the lens. And when I told Ludwig about this, he said, yeah, you see, that's it. Well, that's one of the stories. There's many stories, but there's other people can say something.
Nice one. Thanks, Paul. Gavin.
Yeah, what can I say about Ludwig? The man had a sense of humor next to none. The one thing I remember that stood out for me always is Ludwig and I had an argument, as you do when you work closely with people. And he turned to me and said, you must pray and thank God every day. And I'm like, what for? He says that stupidity does not hurt. So I was like, okay, we'll leave it there. The guy he had an incredible sense of humor, and it's like almost nothing phased him ever. He just carried on with his crocs. Like Renee said, the 12 pairs of glasses, and I don't know, at one point he also had carried a camera with him. I think we were just starting with the gallery story. And at that point, myself and a whole bunch of the other guys were on this available light thing where we only used available light. And Ludwig's answer to that was, I have a flash, it has batteries, it's available.
Fantastic. Thanks, Gavin. Tristan, stop laughing. Have you got a few words to say? Are you ready? Yeah.
I'm used to being the youngest person in the room for most of my time in Kameraz. And so this kind of, I guess, is in some ways when you start graduating and realizing your kids are catching up to where you used to be. And unfortunately, we say farewell to some great acquaintances. I think everybody's touched on the personality that Ludwig had. He's a part of my history and my experience growing up in the shop. And so I'll always remember those many pairs of glasses and the quiet contemplation, the odd electrocution when he was changing the light bulb without turning the switch off, and the yelp that you might hear. But it was always the personality that nothing got him down, generally speaking. I remember him being pretty cool, calm, and collected most of the time, even when tempers might be flaring. And he'd have his moments where I'm sure he would have liked to have been more expressive, but often taking the higher ground. And so I always remember that kind of stable foundation that he provided.
Ilan, your father, who passed away last year, who was working for us, he was about 10 years younger than Ludwig was. Apparently, one that I wasn't here, apparently he and Richard and Ludwig was having an argument, deciding who was going to pass on first. And your father won. Sorry, it's a bit of black humor. Is there anything you would like to, that you recall as more as a customer? Few words.
Yeah, I mean, sure, Ludwig. I think you guys have covered everything beautifully about Ludwig. I worked briefly for Johan, sure, how many years ago when you started Kameraz on the other side of the mall? And I mean, I was what, 18, 19. And I shared a very cramped space with Ludwig. And I remember, yeah, a very cramped space. And I remember we used to actually get into a lot of arguments. We had a lot of disagreements about things. And I think I was quite orderly and I had to try and arrange. I think that was what my job was. I don't even remember cleaning cameras or. Well, I was also a pretty good salesman, but I always remember the disorganized aspect Ludwig had about him, which was quite funny. But a good guy. And yeah, I think, yeah, one of the old toppies, like my dad, that have stuck the test of time, yeah. And yeah, it's sad to see them both go, a year apart. It's quite something, hey. But that is life. And yeah, rest in peace.
Samu and Tandeka, our young sales ladies. What is your experience for the short period that you've known Ludwig? Are you ready? Who's going to do the talking? Both of you. Tandeka?
Hi, everyone. So what I remember mainly from Ludwig was he used to shout at me a lot, like a lot. And it's the small gaps that a person fills in your life that you don't really realize until they're gone. Like when he'd shout lights for us to turn them on or off, or that he's the only one that opens the door, which I'd forget and open, then get shouted at. But I'll really miss Ludwig. I really will.
Hi, everyone. I think mostly everyone has covered more than enough, if I may say. I didn't know enough about Ludwig, but he was really a gentle soul, a sweet man. I mean, most of the time we didn't really have conversation, but it was mostly like, hi. I think every time he'd just look at us and I'd be like, Ludwig, what are you thinking about? And he'd only just say, what? And I'm like, what? Because I couldn't hear him and he couldn't hear me. So it was just that little disconnect. But it was like, okay, it's understandable. But I don't have much to say about him except for just how gentle and sweet he was and just really in his own world and just like, I don't know. But yeah.
Nice. Uwe, Ute, is there anything that you'd like to add? Other than he was your barman when we were downstairs at the when we had that.
I can maybe add that I might have been one of the few he was talking German to,
Yeah, that's
because I was reading it in your piece here, and we were always yes, but he was clearly Austrian, very clearly. Yes, the accent was clearly Austrian, but we enjoyed talking German. I think he enjoyed it, and I've known Ludwig for 15 years, and it was on the other side in the den. I always call it the den where you guys were sitting. And whenever I went there, whenever I was there, he was walking around. He was always shuffling somehow over the alleys in the building. Oh, he couldn't stand still, and he was always very busy when we had our photography evenings together with Richard. They were organizing everything wonderfully. It was a great time. And it was fantastic meeting Ludwig. He was a great person.
enjoy speaking German.
He enjoyed speaking German, yes.
Sharing with us. Thanks, good sir. Now, let's see who's next. Aha. We like people that volunteer. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I've got a funny story to tell you about Ludwig. I met him through Frida, Frida and I were at boarding school together, so it's a long way back. Yeah, and then we carried on being friends right through our lives, and the boys played with my boys. And this one day before I was married, I wanted to get my driver's license desperately. And unfortunately, I had a beach buggy. And so the instructor told me that I would never be allowed to do my license with a beach buggy. So I was desperate. The next day was my license. So I rode to the Chelsea. There was a parking there, I think, if I remember correctly. And I parked my buggy there. And I went to Ludwig. And I said to Ludwig, please, please, can you lend me your car? I've got to go for my license. And he took his keys and he gave it to me, unlicensed driver, a brand new Mini. And I drove to long last, a smooth ride, very quiet, did my license and got it. So thank you, Ludwig. I remember you forever.
And next, let's see. You can hide, but you can't run. Who's next? Okay. Take it, take it.
Hi everyone. So I'm Ludwig's granddaughter, his oldest grandchild. Yeah, and as much as I didn't really get to see a lot of him in my later years, I've been away and he's been in solitude. I knew that I could find him at this shop whenever I did come into town and I wanted to see my grandfather. If I couldn't get hold of him, I could come by the shop and I'd ask around. Has anybody seen him? No, he should be back in the next few. But I know that he also, so I've seen a bit of his stern nature that everyone's talking about, that obviously is just like his Austrianness. And when I was younger, I mean, obviously I was a little girl, he didn't really have the temperament to like handle me properly, he didn't know, but he did have like a very big softness with me. I was his princess, always, his princess, his princess. What does his princess want for Christmas? What does his princess want for her birthday? And when I turned 10, he was over the moon to get me my own camera from Kameraz, which I still use now. And I just, yeah, that's something I'll never forget, how excited he was that I was like finally in his camp now. But yeah, I will miss him a lot. And also want to thank everyone for giving such lovely words about him.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Now let's see who's hiding and would like to say a few words. Derek? No? No? Yes? Thijs, wat kan jy onthou? Van jy het, you remembered Anton quite well. Nee. You were a bit older than Anton. Yeah, or same. Same, yeah. Would you like to say a few? Yeah. Yeah, that's all you remember, yeah. Were you and Anton, you were colleagues at this, he was part-time star, you were full-time star. How did it,
Saturday. He was at the Saturday Star.
Okay.
And I was at the Star. He was chief photographer at the.
You were chief of
He was chief photographer at the Saturday Star.
the Saturday. Yeah, interesting thing about I shared it with Penny as well as with Alex that just after the Bang Bang Club movie was shown, uh, Anton came into my shop. And we didn't often chat it, and suddenly he said to me how sad he was, and it was like a nearly like a little boy. How sad he was that he wasn't included. His name wasn't mentioned in the Bang Bang Club, and it was nearly like saying this very important part of his life. It never happened. And who knows, I don't know what to say to him at that stage. Who knows whether that was indirectly an incentive to go into the danger of Libya as trying to have leave some legacy as a conflict photographer. After his passing, and when the memorial was held for him here in South Africa, I spoke to one of the authors of the Bang Bang Club, and I said, "Do you know what Anton said to me? That he was so sad that he wasn't included in the book." And it was Greg Marinovic. He didn't know what to say to me. The same that I don't know what to say to Anton either. But I suspect when they wrote this book, he and Joao, they were probably had to eliminate certain details and zoom in, to use a photographic term, on certain players. So yeah, a bit sad there. Next, yeah. Mm. Yeah, you were also around. Yeah. Mm. Same. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. It's interesting, and you feel sad about it. The other hand is, you, yeah, without him knowing even it, yeah, yeah, to have some legacy that he could whatever, and I don't think one can blame the two authors either. You probably zoom in and you can't go too wide, so you probably don't extend it to the peripheral. And William, what do you say? Anything that you'd like to share? Yes, no? Whatever you can say. Ah, Roger, you also, yeah.
So Ludwig was a very compassionate person, very straight to the point. And quite recently, I didn't really know about the scenario, the tragic scenario of Anton, and it's really sad. And I mean, it just shows how loving Ludwig is, and it's quite sad in that sense. And Ludwig will be tremendously missed. And it was very heartbreaking to find out the situation. But I'm so happy that I managed to meet such an amazing person from Kameraz, and yeah, I won't ever forget that.
Thanks, William. Dragan, do you want to say something? Something to say about Ludwig? Yes, yes, no, no. Dragan is our electrician. I've known him as a client since the 80s. At least you could speak German, although it's your second language. You could speak German to Ludwig. You found him very funny at times, I could just imagine. So yeah, what will you remember about it?
I don't know how to put it, but we very seldom spoke English. And one of his famous sayings was, Rot, Weiß, Rot bis zum Tod. That means the red, white is the color of the Austrian flag. And it means red, white, red till you're dead. And the second one that he used to use was Hoch das Bein Kaiser braucht Soldaten, which is a bit rude. Don't know if I dare to translate it into English. That goes back to the times of Maria Theresa and Austro-Hungarian Empire. That was a greetings that the ladies were supposed to be ready to have kids because the Kaiser braucht needs the soldiers. I don't. If I was to take a walk down the memory lane, it would go back to about 1979 when I first met him. It was in Hillbrow in German pub called Heidelberg. And then later, but he used to spend a bit of time with him in his hardware shop that he used to run in Hillbrow. I must say, I have, all over these years, I have never ever experienced any bad moments with him. He has never put me in a situation where I felt upset or hurt or insulted. It was always on a happy kind of relationship. And when I heard of his passing on, I wasn't really surprised, because when the last time before he passed away and I saw him, he really, really looked frail and there. I thought to myself, oh God. And here we are. Gathered all together to celebrate a life that was. And he lived his life the way, part of it, the way he wanted, most of it the way he could, like most of us. That's basically all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dragon. Because of the fact that you could speak German to him, that probably made it a special relationship, and that you could probably get more behind the person or whatever. Yeah. And there's something ancient about the history and about the Austrian ship and whatever, which is interesting. Anybody else wants to add anything to this? Any of our... Anybody? Put up your hands now as I go down the line. Annelie, anything wants to... Annelie, you're fine with that? Anybody here? Where? Aha. Good, yeah, from the... Good, yeah, from our kitchen. Good idea, Kyle.
Just from us at the kitchen, we're gonna miss Ludwig. He used to come every day 1 o'clock for his food and takeaway, but he started complaining we're giving him too much chips, too much bloody chips for lunch. So he said we must start giving him more salad and chips once a week. One funny thing that happened with me and Ludwig, one day I went to the shops using the card, but you have to run after Ludwig when you want the F&B card, because his name's on the card. So he's like the boss of the card. One day I'm going to Checkers to buy lettuce, and I can't understand. Declining. I phone Kayla, I say, oh, there's no funds in the card. What are we going to do? So I come back. No, Jared comes running, says, let me punch the numbers. Decline. Then they tell Jared, it says your incorrect password. So then afterwards, Jared, he paid for the stuff. I went back to give Ludwig the card, and he looked at me and he says, he looked down at the card and he was cross at me and he said, I said, I don't know what happened to the card. He's like, I know what happened. You put all the wrong numbers in. Now I have to go and sit at F&B with those people. I hate those people. They take long at F&B. And then he said, thank you very much. Now you're going to make me have a long day.
Thanks, Carl. That definitely sounds like Ludwig. Anybody else? Anybody else? Is it time for Penny to... sorry, please. Okay, Alex?
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I think this is really special, and it's really lightened my heart. And he would have thought this was all way too much fuss, but you know, to us, I think it means a lot, and yeah, he'll be missed. Thank you. You want to go?
Would you like to stand? Yeah. Yes, thanks. Let's speak this, and I'll speak that.
Hi, can you hear me? Cool. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Yes, I'm Penny and Anton's widow. Just really, everyone's said most of what needs to be said, and I really just wanted to convey thanks on behalf of the family. But before that, I just wanted to reflect on the fact that, yes, as a family, we have faced a lot of adversity. You know, it's been 13 years since Anton passed away. And 13 years of Ludwig, you know, living with a broken heart. And I think for those of us in the family, our grief never goes away. But in those times, and in times like he's had in the last several weeks of, you know, being in pain and going through a very difficult time, we've seen what family means, and we've seen what friendship and community means. And actually, we're all here today because of our love and affection for each other. And I just want to say thank you to every single one of you. You know, it's not just about, you know, people living far away. They've sent so many words, so many emails, so many text messages, people we haven't heard from for decades, you know, still so moved by what's happened and still reach out to just offer support and love. And you know, not only that, when I look at the community that's here and the family at Kameraz, the repeated selfless acts of kindness towards this family, I just want to say there are no words fitting, really. There's not enough to really say how grateful we are. And that love and affection, you know, it goes without saying. It's for Ludwig, it's because of Anton, it's for Frida, and the grandchildren, Aurora, Neo, Hero, and Lillian. And we just want to say we really thank you for it. And obviously, Alex, sorry. A few words more specifically, just to name a few people. Vanessa and some of the guys at Kameraz who actually took Ludwig to the hospital. You were there in a moment of dire need, and we're just so grateful for the way you did what you did. Vanessa, especially you, and Johan, you guys were there. Vanessa, you were there during those final weeks in ICU. Those voice notes that you sent to the family, those updates, you were our link when we just couldn't be there as immediately as we wanted to. I just want to say thank you so much for being at his side. And that was such a comfort to us. Johan, with all our hearts, we want to say thank you because you've been a support, but most importantly, you've cared for him like a brother. And we're really grateful. We're really grateful for you being there for him. And last but not least, every one of you that's here, that's made the time to come. I know it was very sudden that we said we're going to do something, and Kameraz are so lovely to do it. But thank you for making the effort. Thank you for just being there. You showing up. You didn't have to say anything. You showing up just shows your care and compassion, and it's a real comfort for us. So with that, I've spoken too much. I'm just going to close in a very quick prayer I'll read out. I hope that's all right. Heavenly Father, as we come together as a family and community to say our goodbyes, we ask for unity and support among us. Let us be a source of strength for one another, offering comfort and love during this time of loss. We are grateful for the bonds of friendship and family that sustain us, for the shared experiences and the connections that define our lives. May our shared memories bring us solace and remind us of the beauty of human connection. Amen. You.
Anybody has got some last chance for somebody to say anything? Going, gone. We'll bring out some snacks for everyone to say you want to spend some time with us. Here's some opportunity now. Thank you.